What's up, everyone? I'm so glad that you're joining me this week. I'm your host, Ryan McCarty. We talk about everything people, culture, engagement. So this week, I'm so glad that you're here. Welcome to Champion Your Culture. Yo, so we're live here on Champion Your Culture. So glad that everybody's here with us. George is jumping on here today. Oh, there you are. Oh, what's going on, brother? I see
you ready?
I'm ready. I don't know where you're at. So George is coming in to join us today. He's on the road. He's actually going to be on stage in just a few minutes after our podcast. So again, thank you for everyone that's joined into Champion Your Culture this week. We're excited because every single week we have the opportunity to be with those of you that are out there championing people, culture, all things engagement, really trying to allow business to be a force for good and lead business in that way, in a way that encourages people grow. What's up, man? I didn't see you walk around
I,
there.
I am coming live. This is how live we are, ladies and gentlemen. I'm about to. I'm actually giving a keynote here, speaking in Denver. I just wanted to. I wanted to come in a different view. I don't know if you can see this, but I'm in
What's going
Denver,
on?
man. The mountains are beautiful back there, brother. Look at
Oh
that.
yeah, that's nice.
That's where you find true leadership, ladies and gentlemen.
in the mountains.
In the mountains of Denver. So
Oh
I'm
God.
authentically coming to you live. I got a place set up, but I wanted to come over here to show the view. So I may lose you just for like 2 minutes, and I'll jump back on if I do.
That's totally cool. I was just sharing with everyone. It's good to see everyone. So George is going to be back with us. I'm not sure what type of leaders you find in the mountains of Denver. I'm sure they're really happy there. So very, very excited though today because we're diving into the idea of leadership. I want to thank Culture of Good for sponsoring what we do every single week at Champion Your Culture. We bring live content around leadership, culture, championing people and teams every single week, and Culture of Good allows us to do that. We have a lot of great things happening in Culture of Good coming up over the next few months. One of the biggest announcements that we have that's really exciting is the fact that we are going virtual. So if you're out there anywhere in the world, you can be trained by Culture of Good in culture and leadership. If you want more information about that, I'm going to add a slide up here on the screen. You can actually reserve a seat now. So there's a deposit of $100. So the cost of being able to be trained over the 2 days in culture to culture champion certification is $9.99, and it's $100 to save your seat. So if you want to do that, I know many of you have reached out and said, how do I join in January 24th and 25th in the training? George will be part of the training. Obviously, myself, others that are here, many of them on the image. But if you want to scan that QR code, go ahead and reserve your spot. Seats are limited. Make sure that you reserve your spot now. I do have a lot of people reaching out to me about this, and so we're excited about what the future is going to hold in terms of what we can provide to you as you scale culture and leadership within your business. Now, speaking of leadership, we're excited because we're talking about really a part two from last week when George and I were on with you. We were looking at the idea of 5 different leaders that can actually kill your culture. When we talk about leaders in that way, a lot of times we have terms that are very interchangeable. So I want to start today by looking at the idea of what is the difference between having someone that's in a place of authority and having someone that not only is in a place of authority, but also uses that authority not in a way to build themselves up, but also to build the team, to become an example of the values and the vision of the organization. There's a far cry difference between just simply being a boss and being a leader. So, George, I know you have a lot of thoughts around this because leadership is something that you and I talk about quite often. When you think about leadership and the difference between bossing people and leading them, what comes to mind for you? You were talking about leaders are found in the mountains as you're walking around. I'm sure those leaders are really
Yeah,
happy out in the mountains of Colorado, right? But what we do is we
it's
find
great.
leaders have dirt under their feet. They're with the people, right? So
Right,
what
right.
do you see in terms of bossing and leading people? What's the difference there?
You know, and in all honesty, Ron, I'm very passionate about the leadership things. We talk about that a lot. We believe that leadership is really the foundation for workplace culture, right? It starts with the stakeholder at the top. Everything traditionally flows down, right? It flows down. And so for me, authentically, we say the leadership is, love, grace, and trust, right?
Mhm.
Words that we typically, especially in the workplace, we don't talk about. We don't talk about, the L word, God forbid, that's a
Yeah,
little bit
yeah, yeah,
sensitive, but we
sure.
are human, right? It's amazing to me that we can love what we do, love who we're doing it with, but we don't share the authenticity of the brotherly love, right? It's just I
Yeah.
love working with the people. So in my perspective, when I think about the leadership portion of it, I think about that foundation of what I believe leadership truly is, and that's love, trust, and grace. And those three characteristics are not just external characteristics that I show to the people with me, but it's something that I show to myself because we always say what leadership starts with self-leadership, right? It's all about leading yourself first. And so when I think about those things, and then you say, how do we lead people and leadership versus bosses? I mean, I have no desire. When I think about bosses, the first thing that comes to my head is micromanagers, and I can't
Yeah.
stand them. Like, get off of my back. You've paid me well. Steve Jobs said a very powerful quote that really impacted me in the workplace, and that was, I refuse to hire people and tell them what to do. Right? When you lead and direct and guide within their gifts and talents that you trusted them, I don't have a desire to boss you. I have a desire to really lead you to that next level, authentically, right? And really allow you to be who you are within the realms of where we are going as a business. So when I think boss, I think micromanager. When I think leader, I think somebody, as you said, they got dirt underneath their nails. They're not ashamed or afraid to go wash a damn toilet, right? We're here to serve, and the visual preference that I give, and I'll push it back to you is the difference to me from leadership and boss is that it's the question: are you wearing an apron, right? Are you here to serve or to be served? Do you have a napkin over your
Yeah.
shoulder or your lap, right? And so am I here to serve or
That's
be
good.
served? And I think leadership is servanthood.
Yeah, yeah. We were talking about in the office around here around what is servant leadership, and really when we think about leadership is servant leadership. When you're serving people rather than serving yourself, and serving people can also mean serving the organization as well, right? Because
Right,
the best
right.
way to serve those that are on your team is to know the direction of the organization. So when we think about management, leaders, there's always, when we think about that, all leaders manage, but not all managers lead, right? So when we think about,
That's good.
yeah, all leaders manage, but not all managers lead. And so we are going to be managing process. We're going to manage projects. We're going to manage initiatives. We're going to manage strategy.
Yeah,
We're going to manage aspects of the business. That's all part of leadership. But in terms of what we're talking about today, we're talking about going beyond just the idea of managing things to really leading people,
yeah,
and people
right.
need to be more than managed. They need to be led, and that's what I think is one of the biggest challenges that I see companies having in terms of this idea that if I see someone that's really skilled in what they do, in terms of their hard skill, say they're a great, let's give a scenario hypothetical here. It's not even a hypothetical, it's in a lot of our businesses. You have a salesperson that's crazy good at sales, right? Just killer salesperson. They're rocking it on sales. They got the highest numbers. And then the sales manager moves on to another company. And in the mind of the organization, and all of its decision makers are thinking, okay, who do we need to have in that position as sales manager? And so we put the person that's the best salesperson in that position, and they go about trying to lead the team doing what? Selling them on their ideas. Why? Because they're great at sales, but they're maybe not great at leading people. See, so that's the idea. I mean, we used to have it in the church where you'd have somebody who's really great with kids, and then you put them over the kids area, and none of the adults liked them, like, and so it's like, skills and the ability to lead does not happen simply because you promote someone or give them authority. I can give you authority. I can place authority in your hands, but I cannot place leadership in your hands. Leadership is something, as you stated earlier, this birth from self-leadership, leading oneself really well first in order to then lead the team and lead others well. And I want to get to that here in just a moment, but I want to talk about that idea, George, because there's different leadership styles, right? So that's one of the things that I think we get into many times within these kind of conversations, because all of us, if we were honest, we want leaders that challenge us, that see the best in us, that desire greater things. They see our potential. And sometimes, some of the best leaders in my life saw greater potential that I could even see, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
and so we all want that, right? But when we're placed in leadership position, then we realize that leading people that way is not a default. You have to be intentional consistently, in the same way that you have to lead you really well and be intentional in that way. If you don't focus on yourself over a while, after some time, if you don't focus on your health, what happens to your health? The default is it goes to chaos, right? And teams go to chaos, organizations go to chaos without leadership, because managers can manage the process of getting there, but leaders are the visionary. They're the ones that are concerned about the well-being and the health of each individual, of the team that they're leading, and also the entire organization as a whole. So when we're thinking about leadership, one of the challenges, if you're listening right now live with us, you could be on LinkedIn or Facebook, on Twitter, we're on YouTube. If you're listening later and you're on one of where you listen to podcasts on Apple, or maybe you're on Spotify, you're listening, one of the things I want you to do is I want you to just take a walk around your office, or maybe just consider what the office dynamic is, and ask yourself, what does the culture of leadership look like in our workplace? What does the culture of leadership look like in a general sense? Is there a culture of leadership? Culture of leadership, not just a few really solid leaders. Oh, if we have a leadership training, we need to have so and so do it because they're no. Is there a culture of leadership? Do people feel it? Do they believe it? And are they behaving in a way that there's that leadership within the organization? How do we know, though? What are the ways that we can tell if there is that type of culture? That's the question too.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm glad that you shared. Whenever we talk about culture, I make sure people understand what we believe culture is. Right? It's those three characteristics, and I think about it in this point because there are
How they
different
feel,
types of
believe, and behave.
leaders.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Feel,
yeah.
believe, and
So
behave. Right.
yeah, so feel, believe, behave most of the time. It's not something that's consistent, but you want to be consistent within that realm, right? So it's leadership, and you threw that word out, consistency, because it's a challenge for those who are it's a challenge for people who strive to be led, right? When there's a lack of consistency by their leadership and they desire that relationship, and understanding. For me, I have a more coaching slash transformational leadership style, right? And so I'm always my desire is to see those around me grow to the next level. that they do. So you and I both do executive leadership coaching, and that's really a lot of that lifestyle. And so how does that leadership then pertain to the culture of the workplace? It's the consistency of how we do what we do, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
How we
exactly.
act, how we feel, how we behave most of the time, and that's even through the situations that we face, right? Like not leaving the stuff at home at home and bringing it over. You know, how does that really go? Are you a delegated, type of a leader, where you delegate responsibilities? And though I really love delegated leaders, sometimes delegated leaders is, I don't want to deal with this,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
passing it
yeah.
on,
Oh,
right?
I've got something with that though. So
Right.
let's think about delegation. Obviously, is just an act. When what you're talking about is the difference between like having an autocratic style of leadership and having a participative, right? So participative is what you're talking about. It's sharing power, it's inviting input, it's showing a high level of trust. The autocratic is like the CEO that says, we're going to merge with this company. This is a change that's happening. Here's the tasks I need you to accomplish so that we can do this. Well, the participative is including people in the planning, in the building of trust, in the communication, in the consistency, what's being said, how things are being said, how are people being empowered. You said it really well. How are we getting people not to go to the next level, but to grow to the next level, right? That's the kind of stuff that I'm talking about. It's not just delegating because you don't want to, you have too much on your plate. It's saying, how can we build a culture that of leadership that's participative, that everyone collectively not only feels a part of, they believe it, and they behave in such a way that their contribution actually matters, which I think is really at the very core of it, what you're talking about in terms of delegating and you're talking about empowering. See, that's what I think is it. Like, I think managers delegate a lot, but I think leaders empower. So rather than just handing something off, you actually empower the person, the team member, to be able to lead with you. You invite them as a part of the process of lead. I mean, this is what we teach at Culture of Good. If these are things that you want to embed within your organization, I mean, this is the training and leadership that we do, and that's going to be happening January 24th and 25th. George, as you start to talk, I'm going to put up that QR code again for those that joined us a little later. This QR code is for you to save your seat for the training that's going to be happening January 24th and 25th. Listen, we're not just selling webinars and workshops. We're very strategic, and over the last 10 years we've been working with and within companies of every size, every industry, identifying ways that we can help empower and champion organization and their leaders like yourself to be able to lead the culture and to build a leadership culture and a culture that's engaging to your team members and those that you're serving, your customers and clients, and those in your community. So George, I want you to keep talking though about the leadership thing. I'm going to put that QR code up for just a moment, and then we're going to get into a quote that I really love from Marshall Goldsmith. But go ahead and expound a little bit more on that idea. Oh, you're muted, brother. You and your
That's
muting.
the that's that's the beauty of live, right? No, so I'm actually here on the conference floor showroom. So you might hear people come around me here. I've
All
snuck in
good.
early. So it's awesome. So we'll talk about leadership. Everybody can join in around as well. But leadership, and that growth and development. You made a statement. Don't go in leadership, grow in leadership.
Yeah.
And I believe it is I believe it's our duty and our responsibility as leaders to make sure, right? It's that expectation. Whenever I go somewhere, I want to leave it better than where it was when I first got there, and that's the responsibility for us. with our team members, however long we are empowered and blessed with the opportunity to be able to lead people, it is our responsibility to grow them in the areas that they are compassionate about. So then we talk about this, Ryan. And when I think about leadership, it's a relationship, right? And you have to have trust and that vulnerability. And a lot of times in life, I believe the struggle with leadership is that uh, I've learned more as a leader from those who I have led than maybe I have taught, right?
Sure,
Because
sure.
you open yourself up, right? There's a sense of vulnerability there in a leadership form that you learn as you grow and you're connected with other people. And if you want to take your culture of your workplace, if you want to take, even we've seen this monetary with companies that we work with, Ryan, where when you have good leadership and the
Yeah.
culture reflects that leadership, it's not just the internal things that go well, it impacts not just your culture, but also impacts your sales. There's a direct connection of good leadership, good workplace culture that really takes your what the purpose of what you're there in business, right, to another level, but it's done through authentic relationships. You make a statement, Ryan, I won't say it because I want you to share it um, in regards to leading people and growing people. And I want to open the door without making a statement because you say two things. You say two things, and I think leadership is giving,
Yeah.
right? I believe in the workplace we should give, but you have a rule. I call it the law. It's one of our top 10 laws, culture of good laws. If we can create those, one of those culture of good laws is in the giving aspect. What do you say when it comes to giving?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the quote exactly in terms of what you're asking about, but I think a lot of it has to do with if in order to lead people, you have to love them.
Hmm.
In order to well, basically, you have to, as a leader, you have to love people and you have to live the culture, right? I
Yeah,
mean, and that's the idea in terms of the giving. And everything is a give and take. Like I can't expect something out of the team if I don't first put that in. So when we think about
yeah,
trust, what are we asking them to be a part of and to trust? And so when I think about the giving part, the investment, when we're talking about leadership, we're not spending time with people. We're not spending resources on our team. We're investing, right? We're
yeah.
actually hoping that they grow in those areas. I love what Marshall Goldsmith, and he's one of the ones that gave us a great testimonial for our book, Build a Culture of Good. And Marshall actually wrote the foreword to our book, not just a testimonial. He says this. He says, the only natural law I've witnessed in 3 decades of observing successful people's efforts to become more successful is this: people will do something, including changing their behavior, only if it can be demonstrated that by doing so, it's in their best interest as defined by their own values.
Yeah,
Right. And this is in the book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. And I think when we think about this, people are open to change, open to transformation. The question is, are we really giving them opportunity to change? Are we empowering them
yeah,
and giving them everything that they need to actually move from management to leadership? So I just wrote down a few different things that I want those that are out listening and watching with us today. These three areas of business, three I would say training that needs to happen for those on your team that are leading, that are managing, that are in any position of authority or influence within the organization. These three train these three areas of business, I think, are really important to provide training and development so that managers can actually learn. Because you can develop managers into leaders. It just requires investment, right? So a lot of times, the reason
yeah,
that our managers aren't leading well is because we haven't fully equipped them, and it's on us, not on them. So let's
Yeah.
think about that. So three things that I think are really important, George. I'm just going to say them really quick. You brought up one of them earlier. I'm going to say that last. I'm going to start from the other, and that's organizational change management. Um, Managers, if they're going to be leaders, have got to learn organizational change management. We teach the principles. We don't certify people in OCM, but the culture of good process, we teach the OCM principles. So one, I'll give an example of that. I'll put it on the screen. This is something that we would share. ADKAR: awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. You can see this slide isn't fully baked just yet as far as the descriptions, but you can see this is what we're talking about. Do your managers know how to take people through an ADKAR process? Right. That's what you're going to learn January 24th and 25th if you reserve your seat for that training. This is some of the process that we teach, because organizational change management, those principles are really key to leading the people side of change. All of our companies are going through transformation and change. The reason that many times our managers are failing is because they don't know how to lead people through change. Usually because none of us have ever been led through change very well. Think about how change is rolled out in most companies. It's thrown at you. And then there's expectations built around what you're supposed to do with that change now that you heard about it. And that's different than what we teach. So we're teaching culture, and we're embedding principles and actions and process within an organization and training you as a leader to be able to lead those well. So OCM would be huge. Secondly, business culture development, leadership development, any type of development training, right? So this is going to be that professional hard skills, how to lead culture, how to lead in terms of business as an ongoing work. So this is how to build in sustainability tactics. This is more than just leading people through change. This is also knowing how to be a leader beyond just simply managing stuff, how to be a visionary, how to engage people through a process, how to consistently embed habits within a team so that the outcomes that you want to see 3 months from now in the next quarter come about, so that everyone's equipped and have the capacity to lead with you, right? So we're talking about getting into the development side of the business and being able to manage all of that. And lastly, again, you brought this up earlier, is that self-leadership component. Those three things I think are really important if we're going to get managers to become leaders, to grow. If you don't become a leader, you are becoming, right? You're transforming. It's consistent, it's ongoing, it's development, it's growth. You grow from management to leadership. You don't go from management to leadership. And so it's OCM, business, culture management, leadership management, and then self-leadership. How do I lead myself well? We don't certify in all of this, but we do certify in leadership and culture, right? So we have that leadership and culture. And we also have coaching, one-on-one coaching, so that leaders, executive leaders, those who are in leadership positions, can have that one-on-one support to really help embed the personal development that needs to take place for managers to grow into leaders. That's a lot. I know.
No, I mean, it is. Everything is a lot, right? But I think the fundamental truth, and I always say that whenever we talk about change, I get excited, right? Without change, there could be no growth. Growth equals change. And a lot of us want the change, but a lot of us don't want to be changed because it brings uncomfortableness. It takes us out of our comfort zone at times, both as a leader and also somebody who is being led, right? And then with the self-leadership portion, this is something that I'm very passionate about with the self-leadership. But Ryan, we talk about this all the time in our 12-week leaders, course, is that the direct foundation of self-leadership right? So to lead the life you love, you must first lead yourself, right? The sum of our life is how well we lead ourselves before we can lead others. And that foundation is, right? We ask the 4 questions. Number one, who am I, right?
Mhm.
It's the identity of understanding who I am as a leader. Who am I becoming? The second question is, and if you're listening right now, ask yourself these questions, write them down. Number one, who am I? Number 2, what do I want? Number 3, where am I going? And the fourth one is what I really love the best, right? Who do I want to be when I get there,
That's the
right? At the end of
becoming,
the
yeah.
day, once I get there, who do I want to be when I get there? And that's the most fundamental truth of leadership. So leadership is self-leadership first, and then we can empower and engage and elevate our life and those around us that then blend into the work of the culture of the business. That is a lot. I wish we can break it down even more, but we're wrapping up here. Once again, I appreciate everybody. I'm live here in Denver. I'm excited. I appreciate y'all checking out the mountains with me. I'm at a random booth, GSM warehouse. If you're in the
Hey, we're
wireless
sending
industry,
you
I'll
all
plug these guys.
kinds
I
of
don't have a
all kinds of positive, good vibes, George. Get up on stage and
Cool.
inspire. Listen, all of us
I
at
appreciate it.
Culture
I
Good are
appreciate it.
behind you. I feel like we're growing a family here. This is like week 23, I think, and we're going to be
Yeah.
back next week. We're going to continue just to explore these ideas and challenge ways of thinking, share best practices. We've got some really cool updates coming up. Again, if you want to save your seat for further training and you want to develop yourself, or maybe you have other team members, you can save as many seats as you want, but those seats are limited. So be quick to scan that QR code, go on cultureofgood.com, save a seat. We're going to see you back next week. It's every Wednesday from 10 to 10:30. We're live. George, thank you for jumping on. Everybody else, thanks for jumping on.
Appreciate
Thank
y'all.
you. Yeah, we really do. We really do love y'all and appreciate you a lot.
We do. And the Mile High city of Denver. That's what it's known for. So
Enjoy yourself there,
I'm be
George.
high on love and
I hope you
leadership.
enjoy everything that Colorado has to offer you, my friend.
Man, I'm speaking at 9:00, and then I'm literally headed to the airport. I gotta get to Nashville, and you know how it is, man. We're on to the next one. But
Yep,
we appreciate
we're
it.
rolling.
Appreciate again, Culture of Good. Yeah, we appreciate Culture Good for sponsoring this week's podcast.
And we'll see you back next week on go ahead.
Champion
Your culture.
Culture.
Peace out.